I love us.
I think we're great.
I think we're delightful.
We're so funny. Why is no one snatching us up? Where's Audible?
Yeah, really. I mean, where is the squatty potty? Like, I want my fucking...
Where?
I just want a free squatty potty. That's all I want.
Same. Where's our Blue Apron sponsorship?
Truly. I'm like, come on. Where's Wix? Come on, Wix.
Wix, come on.
Anyway, welcome back to the Fic List.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hasn't it been some time?
It has been a second since we recorded last, yeah. We recorded back in...
first weekend of May, technically. It was like April 31st, May 1st situation. Or 30th, however many days are in April.
It is mid-July. We are still locked in the house.
So much has happened, and so little has happened.
Yeah, man.
Like, so much on the national stage, and, like, so little personally. You know what I mean? It's like this weird, because life feels very small. I don't know if you experienced this, but life is feeling very small in ways that it hadn't before, where it was like, I only see a couple of people.
Mm-hmm.
I only go to a couple of places. I rarely leave my apartment. Like,
yeah.
So in that way, life has gotten small, but also so much of what's happened since April to now, and what I'm sure will happen in the interim between recording this and posting this, is that's a thing we're learning, will be big and important and huge. And so that dichotomy is really it's interesting. I'm twitching aggressively, friends.
Yeah.
It's a lot to like live through as a person. But yeah, I think about that a lot. I'm like, oh.
It's always so funny to me when I'm like when I talk to my therapist. Hey, James, shout out to you. Whenever I'm talking to James or to anyone, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like trying to be like a good sport, but I'm also like really exhausted, or I'm really like tired, or like these people annoy me, and I'm like, I feel like a bad person. And the first thing he always says is, "You are living through a pandemic, my friend." And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, there was a post going around kind of early on that was like, no, you are not working from home. You are like quarantining during a pandemic and attempting to still work. Like, that is what's happening.
Yeah, that's
and
a great way to phrase it.
You know, now I'm unemployed. Haha, fun. But the theory of that is the same. Mm-hmm. Like, it keeps, everybody is still just trying to survive right now in whatever way that they can. And as the machine of capitalism rages on. Man. But we don't have to go down that path.
Right. I do want to mention that also there was a post that I saw right around when we started quarantining that said something to the effect of like, now you're going to be able to tell who your real friends are, who checks up on you. And someone very quickly was like, no, fuck that. Like, you have to take care of yourself in whatever way that means. And if that means just like locking yourself up and watching the Great British Bake Off while eating cake, then that is your prerogative. Like, this is not the time for that. And I was like, so grateful, because that's something I struggle with on a normal basis.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's such a manipulative thing to say or do, because you have no idea what's going on in someone's life on the day-to-day. Like, you have no idea really what other things they could be dealing with. Like, they could be having a COVID scare, they could be losing, like, they could be under threat of eviction, they could be out protesting and being, having a lot of health risks and physical risks to their body. Like, you have no idea why somebody hasn't sent you particularly a text. Like, it's super shitty to be like, basically like giving tests of your friendship to people without their knowledge or consent. Like, don't do that, guys. That's bullshit. And also, like, the world doesn't revolve around you. So, like, as much as the world revolves around me, like, it doesn't, though, right? Like, it doesn't. Like, other people have lives, and they're allowed to have lives, and you are allowed to not be the priority in their life. And that doesn't mean that you're not their friend.
Amen.
Wow, maturity, hi. But also, did you just turn on some kind of neon light in your room?
I turned on my LED strips. I'm fully gonna become a TikTok e-boy, as they call them.
I am living. I looked up and I was like, is he in Tron now? Like, what is this?
It very quickly becomes like from Tron to like, welcome to my playroom.
Oh, I hate it. I was going to go with Star Wars, but I'm asexual. So it does look like a lightsaber. Y'all can't see this because, this is an audio medium. But yeah, definitely I was like, there's a lightsaber coming out of the side of your head.
That'd be worrying.
That would be very worrying. You'd be dead, given the laws of, lightsaber physics or whatever.
Right. Or because the lightsaber is so hot and it would be cauterizing the wound, would I be okay anyway? As long as the lightsaber stayed in my head.
There is a real Tumblr post about this.
I've seen it.
Where, yeah, okay, great. Then I don't have to explain it. Friends, if you have not seen it, it's the one about the hot knife.
Yep.
Where it was like, stabby stab. And then it was like, the 4 different Hogwarts houses respond to this question of, if you stab someone with this knife, would they bleed out or would it cauterize the wound? And I am very much a Hufflepuff, and the response that resonated the most with me was, guys, stop stabbing each other. You could just have automatic toast.
Yep.
It's like, yep, just make bread.
Just make bread. Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyway,
so
that has nothing to do with the fanfictions that we're reading. Once again, this is who we are as people.
Yeah, so what are the fanfictions we're reading, Aaron? What's our tag this week?
Our tag today is a fascinating one, I think, because it's not really a tag per se. It's like a genre of fanfiction or a type of fanfiction. We're doing crossovers.
Yes. I'm sure many of people, all 2 of you that listen, have been waiting with bated breath for whenever we do a crossover. The day's here.
Have they though? Is that like a thing?
Well, I don't know because I don't know our demographic. I'd have to look at some numbers. But
all right, Caitlin. Yeah.
But I know that, I mean, it is a huge community. Like when I looked up crossovers, the amount of results was staggering.
Mm-hmm,
and
that's true.
It just makes sense to me. I think that there's a very passionate faction of people who love crossover fan fiction, and you know what? I can't fault them for it.
It ain't me, friends. I'm gonna be upfront about my feelings about this.
Well, why don't we save this for after? Should we talk about it now? What do you think?
Well, this is the moment where we're like, okay, well, what do we look for in a crossover? I don't, because I hate crossover. And I didn't realize how much I dislike crossover until I had to pick one. Because I don't read them, ever. And I think it's just something about fan fiction being very much about, for me, exploring a world further, that adding a new variable, I'm like, no, I can't do it. Just stop. No, I don't want Harry Potter in this in this, I don't know, Stranger Things fan fiction. I don't want that. I emphatically do not want it.
You don't want Darth Vader going to Camp Half-Blood with Percy Jackson?
Don't cross the streams is my thing. No, it just doesn't make sense in my brain. My whole brain breaks and I don't like it. But that said, I mean, I attempted to remove that element from my critique as much as possible, because it's not fair to judge something based on sort of a general dislike of the trope or the thing. So I'm gonna try to come to the I'm currently eating, friends, so the hope is that by the time we get to me reviewing a fic, I'll be nicer. I'm gonna attempt to basically rate it and review it on merit as the thing that it is, without allowing my general dislike for the premise to color that too much.
That's very big of you. I think I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else does too.
I haven't done it yet, so maybe don't
congratulate
me too early.
Until late.
Yeah, wait until I've actually succeeded.
I shouldn't count my chickens before they hatch, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
Saying.
It's such a good one. How do you feel about crossovers? What do you like about them or dislike about them?
It's interesting because I knew that they existed, and I don't know that I ever willingly read one. It just never really called my attention. That being said, having read a few, I was not fully. I don't think I have as strong a dislike as you do, Aaron. I think for me, I really appreciate how when you put 2 things, when you cross over something, I feel like because you're dealing with 2 fandoms, sometimes it becomes easy. It becomes more accessible for a person because they don't go as fully into one show storyline sometimes. So it's more accessible for me to read and kind of gauge oh, do I like the characters or do I like this fandom? Is it something I would like to read more of? So I really appreciated that. And I think that it's when it's done well, when it's not just like crack fic, I think that it's like really can be really engaging and like really creative. Like I live for people finding creative ways to connect characters, and when it makes sense, I'm like, oh, so good. But yeah, I don't ever find myself drawn to them where I'm like, oh, I'll definitely read that.
I actually think I experienced something like the opposite of that, where it makes it feel less accessible to me, which is perhaps why I don't like it. Even in situations where I know both of the fandoms that it's coming from, there's something about it that just is jarring to me in a way that takes me out of the world.
Right.
I think it does come back to, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, that I very much rely on world building and enjoy world building. And so if you mash up worlds that are disparate and you don't necessarily explain why or how, I just have a really hard time with it. I'm currently reading a work in progress that is doing a really interesting job of it. It's like kind of the first time that I've been interested in a crossover of every kind, and it is magicians.
I was gonna say, what is crossing over with the magicians in this fic?
Stop it! We are once again at 0. But I didn't send it to you because it's a work in progress. But it's by one of my favorite authors who is really, 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 really stellar, and also we're friends on Twitter, which is like dope. Let me see if I can find her handle so I can just like
give her a
credit
plug,
because she's great. She was one of my like salty mutuals when the magicians thing exploded. She's the best. She had the best hot takes of like anybody.
I love it.
Yes, please. The page responded too slowly. Fuck you, Archive of Our Own. Not actually. I love Archive of Our Own. Don't ever. So I did find the fic that I'm referring to, and it's called Return to the Sunlit Lands by Pan Bolin, Panboleyn, and it is a Magicians and Chronicles of Narnia crossover. So when it finishes, I'm definitely going to send it to you.
Please,
basically
do.
Yeah, basically the idea is that Quentin escapes from the underworld and in doing so ends up in Narnia and then connects with like Prince Caspian and all these characters. And so it is really, and I think what I'm liking about it so far is that the world building is so thorough between the two because they're both sort of like equal fantasy types, and they both have enough background and all that kind of stuff that like they mesh well. So I think for me, when crossovers are really frustrating is when there's like very different types of storytelling happening between the original source material, so they don't lend themselves to an even mesh.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like if you try to put Harry Potter in like a rom-com, I'm like, how does what? Like one is like a deeply complicated or like deep fantasy, not deep fantasy. I shouldn't say that's Harry Potter, but you know, like I don't always buy
some deep themes.
Yeah, I don't even, more in the sense of like, you know, it's got all of this like nuance and like there's a whole world built around it versus like, oh, it's high school. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just like, I'm very excited about this fic. I'm excited about fics like that, where I think that's where I want crossovers to be, and it doesn't often happen that way. So that's why I think my frustration comes from. But definitely check out Pan Bolin's fic, guys, because like this is not a Magicians episode, but like I have to just say it every episode, right? This is who I am.
So should I launch into what you sent me first?
Yes, because I forget what I sent you.
Great. Good start.
Please know that I went down the list of like, I chose crossover and then went like filtered out fandoms I didn't know anything about and then was like, cool, fine, whatever, this works.
You sent me, and this is on Archive of Our Own, it is titled, And It Feels Like Jealousy. By Starkind. And this is a crossover fic between the Iron Man movies, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and the newest Wonder Woman movies. Or movie currently, soon to be 2. It is a throuple between Wonder Woman, Iron Man, and Batman. Also, or as the author says, a Wonder Iron Bat collection.
That is the least exciting polyship name of any
Honestly,
superhero.
I kind of love it.
It's a good one, but it's not as funny.
Yes, I know. It's like, no Star Spangled Banner. I get it.
Still the best. All right. Yeah. Unrealistic expectations. Moving on.
The summary reads, even if they trust each other, the ugly green monster sometimes rears its head. Here's how it goes. Tony breaks out the sass. Diana relies on intuition. Bruce acts. Or 3 different settings, 3 different ways of coping. And that is a really fucking good summary for what this fic is. It's 4,000 words, so like it's not too long, but it's like a sizable chunk.
It was as much crossover fic as I was willing to read at the time.
Aaron, please.
I'm so sorry. I'm not getting nicer with food, guys.
Maybe we should just not do my fic.
No, it's fine.
So yeah, this is a really good summary. It's separated into 3 different chapters, and the first one is Bruce and Tony dealing with being jealous over Diana. She's talking to Clark Kent, who's Superman, and apparently 6'5". And listen, I've been in quarantine for too long, everyone. I read 6'5", and my first thought was like, I'd climb him like a tree.
Oh, poor Elon.
It's been too long. Anywhomst. So Wonder Woman is talking to Superman and at this like fancy like benefit gala at Wayne Mansion, and Tony is like really outwardly like, aren't you jealous? Look at him. And Bruce is being like, you know, as he's wont to do.
Yeah.
And then they like break him, like they go and they like break that up or whatnot. And later they're like, after the party, they're like undressing and like getting ready for bed. And Tony's telling Bruce, you know, she'd make a better match with Clark Kent. I mean, like, he's gorgeous, he's immortal, she's immortal, like they're a better pair. And then Diana comes in and is like, guys, stop fucking talking about who I belong with. Like, that's really fucking misogynistic. And then they're like, okay, sorry. And that's it. You know, that's the first chapter. Second chapter is Bruce being talked up by who I believe is Catwoman.
Batman!
At another fancy benefit in Wayne Mansion. And this woman who's flirting with Bruce Wayne is like outwardly flirting, like cupping his jaw and like being really like flirtatious. Which honestly, same girl. And Diana and Tony go over and like break that up, and they're like, all right, we're leaving. And they're like, take him to like some deserted hallway next to the kitchen and basically like assault this poor Batman and like give him a hand job. And he's very appreciative.
By assault we mean have like very consensual quickie sex.
Yeah. What she said. Bruce wasn't complaining. He liked it.
Established couple, well, throuple.
Yes. And that's the end of the Bruce Wayne chapter. And then the Tony Stark chapter, the third one, is Tony's having a party at his place, and they aren't out, like they aren't public, like with their throuple. So Tony has to keep up this persona of like, oh, I'm a playboy, and like, you know, I can get whoever I want. Even though he's not drinking anymore, and he's in a very committed polyamorous relationship.
You got there eventually.
This is how little experience I have with polyamory, you know? Like, I am still trying to get it into my vernacular and make sure that it comes out naturally to me. So he's not out, and this means that at his party, he's, like, partying it up, and he asks Bruce, who's, like, sulking in a corner, like, come dance with me, please, and Bruce is like, fuck off!
I like the pseudo-Batman voice that you attempt when you speak like him.
I'm Batman.
No, you are not. You have blue hair, Alan.
I'm blue hair Batman.
I am not Christian Bale.
Yeah, so, and then Tony's like, all right, fuck you too. And is like dancing it up on the dance floor. Diana eventually finds Bruce and is like, oh, let me guess. Tony asked you to dance. You said no, and now you're moping because he's out there dancing. And Bruce is like, meh.
Yeah, and Bruce is a big old baby, which is like very on brand.
It true. And then so they're watching over Tony and eventually notice that he's like stumbling on his feet a lot, and they're like, oh, but he's not drinking anymore. And then see this guy who's like really getting up on Tony Stark, and so it's very clear that he's been roofied. And so Diana goes to get Pepper, and like she's like, okay, I'm gonna go get Pepper, and we're gonna get security, and we're gonna take care of this discreetly. Just watch over him, make sure nothing else happens. So she goes, and then she's coming back with Pepper, and she comes back to find everyone like crowded around the pool, and essentially, fucking Bruce Wayne is holding this guy's head underwater, like blah 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 blah.
He's like functionally waterboarding him,
essentially, and he's like, "What do we have to say?" And the dude's like, "Oh, I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm sorry."
Batman.
Yeah. And Diana's like, "God damn it, Bruce."
Yeah. Well, Diana's like, you couldn't have waited 5 minutes for me to come back with a lasso of truth. Really? Really?
Typical men.
Yeah.
And the fic ends with Diana and Bruce taking care of Tony like as he's sick and he like is shivering with the after effects of the roofie drug. And it's actually very sweet and reminded me a lot of a sick fic. So it's very comforting. And that's the fic, you know? It was just 3 different alternating points on a polyamorous relationship and how they deal with jealousy. I thought it was well done.
Yeah. It's really 3 one-shots in one fic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they're not connected. The chapters aren't connected.
Yeah. I also, when I first saw the fandom that you decided to cross over, I was like, all right, so we're cheating now, are we? I was like, oh great, yeah, Marvel, DC, this is big, they're superheroes.
I don't care.
It's like the easiest crossover.
It's because I don't like pushing myself. I'm very happy in my little comfort zone. The fact that it wasn't a Magician's fanfic, frankly, you should be grateful, okay?
I don't think you could have ever like sent me a Magician's fanfic that crossed over with something if it wasn't absolutely perfection.
Right. Well, yeah, like I talked about at the beginning. Like there's that one that isn't done yet. So
yeah, so I just feel like you would never abide for anything that is not a perfection in a Magician's fanfic.
That's true. I have very high standards.
Yeah, so this was lovely though. I am very excited to keep reading more about polyamorous relationships and like how they, like, I'm so interested in the dynamics of like comfort and like how each partner plays a role. And I thought this was a really good fic for that. Is the crossover done well? I mean, yes, it's not
hard.
It's not a hard stretch of the imagination to imagine that Gotham City is like right next to New York City. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, Iron Man is functionally Batman, but Marvel's take on it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah.
That's just kind of what it is. And then, like, yeah. I mean, they're basically the same character. I'm going to get some serious fanboy hate for saying that, but it's true.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. So, yeah, was it successful as the crossover? Yes. But you would have had to been trying really hard to not make this successful. Yeah, I thought it was fairly well written. The narrative like pushed forward just the right amount of dialogue. Not a lot of world building, but makes sense. I enjoyed myself. I thought it was a very sweet little piece.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I'd say like a 3.2 out of 5.
I'll take that happily. Feels
good to me.
Sweet.
Feels like jealousy, some might say.
I dislike you so much. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was not particularly emotionally invested in this fic the way that I sometimes am with other things, so I don't have a lot to say about it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I thought it was certainly good enough to like read and send your way, and it caught my eye of the options that there were. I definitely cheated. It was like...
I was gonna say if it was like you technically get a passing grade, but it's like a D, you know, like.
I fulfilled the terms of the assignment.
You did the
you
bare
have
minimum.
To give me an A on a technicality.
Well, that's not accurate.
Very good at being that way.
You turned in the assignment.
I did. I fulfilled the terms of the assignment that I was given. Just because you don't like the way that I did it doesn't mean I did it wrong. Yeah, there was no caveat that said they had to be very disparate.
You just really don't like the thought of getting a low grade.
No, I hate it. I am the Amy Santiago of the Leslie Knope of this podcast. So yeah, I'm definitely that character.
Amazing.
That does remind me of the time that I got my grade deducted for an ungraded assignment, and I'm still bitter.
So, Erin, what did I send you?
You sent me... Oh, Alan. A fic called Queer Eye John Locke Edition. It's on AO3, and it's written by someone named... the username is Fellshish. 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 I don't know how to pronounce that. It's okay. It's not meant to be read out loud. The summary is... John is not gay. Sherlock is married to his work. It's been years and years, and Molly is fed up with her clueless friends. She nominates John for a new season of Netflix's Queer Eye and asks the Fad Five to not only renew his closet, but drag the man out of it. I had a little bit of an issue with this premise.
Okay.
Specifically the idea that the Fab Five would ever be comfortable or willing to drag anyone out of the closet. And that was the specter haunting this fic for me the whole time. I was like, these are real people. Like, I think I had a hard time because it was functionally RPF in that sense. And they are so well known for being so gentle with their queer clients, especially compared to their straight clients, because they understand what it's like to be in the process of coming out of the closet or repressed in some way. That, like, the idea that they would ever, like, intentionally put John in uncomfortable situations with Sherlock or whatever to try to get him to come out fundamentally did not jive with my feelings on them. So, like, there from the beginning I was like not down with that interpretation.
That's fair.
Yeah. So basically, the way that this fic is structured, it's actually kind of reminiscent of the one fic that you sent a long time ago that was the Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson fic where he was a YouTuber.
Yes.
Where the
Married
fic mimics...
for a week?
That sounds right. Yeah. It kind of mimics the structure of an episode of The Thing. So in this case, Queer Eye. So it's written to be like an episode, but as you're sort of like experiencing it, not necessarily in the sense that it's written like a screenplay. And it starts off in like they're showing up, they're going to London, they end up at John and Sherlock's flat, and they're doing the thing in the car in the beginning where they're like reading the file and like explaining who they are. And I understand that Jonathan Van Ness is he's just a lot of person.
Sure.
And he's the best. But I thought this was kind of a mean interpretation of Jonathan's a lotness. Did you feel that at all?
No, I think you took this a lot more to heart than I did.
Maybe. I took it too seriously, perhaps.
Yeah, I very much took it as a humor piece, and you very much went a different route with it, which is fair and, like, valid.
Perhaps if I treated it like crack, I would be less...
Right.
grumpy with it. But...
Which is, yeah, maybe I did not prep you sufficiently for this.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think part of it, what's going on with it too, is that like some characters are really in character, right? Like the way that they write Tan is actually really close to Tan's voice in my brain. But the way that they wrote, say, like Jonathan in particular, just felt like such a parody of Jonathan Van Ness, and he's already like made fun of so much in pop culture, and I'm very protective of that person because I think he deserves the world. Like he's so wonderful in so many ways. Yeah, so I got a little grumpy right off the bat. In comparison, I'm not a good person. I can't stand Anthony.
Oh my god. So you loved how just like basic and like airheaded they made Anthony in this film.
I was like, you right.
Like, Aaron.
I never claimed to be a good person. I think I wrote one of my first notes in this was, wow, I still dislike Anthony even in fanfic. Which is so frustrating. There was a line that I really had an issue with, and that was, I think, where I was just like, I'm not down with this fic. Bobby, who can be very curt, like he can have a very dark sense of humor in the show and like in life. So I don't want to characterize him as somebody who would say this, but I get where the impulse to write this line came from. I just think it was too far. Was the line Bobby is saying, "This is the most depressing kids' room I've ever seen," Bobby says, "and I've seen Trump's detention camp pictures." Yeah. And I was out at that point. Like, there was no coming back from that for me. So, just so you know, like that, and that was pretty early on.
It was, yeah. I definitely thought about warning you with that caveat, but I was like, yeah. But then I was like, I don't want to, like, I try not to impact your reading so that you get your reactions, like, without too much of an influence on me.
I think there's sometimes a struggle with fan fiction, particularly if it's like crack-ish, with it doesn't always sit right with somebody. Like it just doesn't. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's not for me. Yeah. And
I also, to be clear, I also thought that joke was very not good. Like not great at all. Yeah, no, like, that we're not talking about that joke in particular. Like that joke in particular was really in poor taste and offensive, and I really didn't like it. But overall, like this type of fiction, this type of fanfic, and like
usually doesn't sit well with me either. So now you're adding a trope that I don't like with a type of writing I don't care for. So I was not set up for success. Anyway, moving right along. I also actually had more sort of generalized conundrum again with the mashup because Queer Eye is really silly and lighthearted a lot of the time, or like intentionally sort of like evocative emotionally in a more positive like cathartic kind of way, and Sherlock can get real dark.
Yes.
And I thought that tone mashup was kind of hard because like Sherlock wanted to be really serious, and like the character of Sherlock was really, in general, is really serious. Like the things that they have gone through were really serious, and it didn't feel like, because of that disparity, it didn't feel like the Fab Five were like being sincere in their, like, with their help, or like it just felt like they were just like, so it just put them in a bad light in my estimation of it. So it was just really, it was hard to read because I was like, they're not taking John's like trauma seriously. I definitely overthought this.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fair.
So, I mean, I don't feel like we need to go too deep into the rest of the plot of this fic, although I did love that at one point Anthony is making him guacamole and John's like, it's guacamole. Like, this is the stupidest shit ever. And I was like, correct, Anthony is not actually a chef. And therefore not particularly helpful.
Oh my god.
I will die on this hill that Anthony is the most overrated and least talented member of the Fab Five, just on the content of the show. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak to his actual like real life.
Yeah, this is a Bobby household.
This is absolutely a Bobby household. That man redoes entire fucking houses in like 3 days. Anthony slices an avocado and calls it art. Fuck that.
Oh my god, Aaron. Now he's never going to want to come on the podcast.
I don't care. I don't want to talk to him. Oh, but he's friends with Jonathan. They're like buddies.
They are.
Well, Jonathan, I'm sorry. I'm sure Anthony in real life is a delight. I don't mean to disparage somebody in real life. Just like on the show, I'm like, come on, you have to do better. So anyway, they move forward, like through the course of the show, they do the thing where they have their moment with each of the people. Mm-hmm. So each of the Fab Five have their moment with John, and then it ends with Bobby has redecorated the house and taken John's like cot or bed out of the space, so now they have to share a bed. Mm-hmm. And Sherlock thinks that this means he's getting forced to move out, and they have a whole confrontation, and in that John's like, no, I actually love you and want to share a bed with you, and Sherlock is like, what? Okay. And then they're together. It just felt really out of character for the Queer Eye guys, against the ethos of the show. And I didn't feel like even the realization moment at the end where like John and Sherlock get together was even earned. Like it just felt kind of forced and fake, and I clearly was not a fan of this fan fiction, and I think it's because I took it at face value seriously and not as crack.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think, yeah, we definitely approached this from different places.
Can I ask you why you sent this to me?
I thought it was fun.
Okay, that's fair.
I had a good time. Like, is everything you saying true? Yes, and very accurate. I don't know. I just thought it was a good time. I thought it was a interesting take on, like, I liked the thought of taking the format of something and then applying that to a different fandom. So that I was like, oh, that's a good time. And I've tried very hard, especially this season, to not try to read your mind to try and get better ratings. Like, to me, I'm like, is it a crossover? Does it fulfill the task sufficiently for me? Yes. Okay, cool. And then I just think it makes for good conversation, you know?
That makes sense to me. I think, yeah, I don't think you should necessarily choose fics based on what you think I will like. It's not how
it's also interesting because I have found more success now when I don't care as much than when I was trying to like think, oh, like, will Aaron think this is like good?
Yeah.
Like, my average has gone up, which is nice. And I also think you're trying to be a nicer person, so that's good.
I actually agree. I think I want to read the fics that you think are worth reading. Like, that's kind of the point. And that's definitely how I approach it, where I'm like, you know, I don't really care what you're going to think about it, because I'm like, it's going to be good and I like it, whatever. But I mean, that said, I did not care for this one.
That's fair. I get it. I hear everything you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because none of that like immediately reads to me, and I think it like I don't know. It makes me feel like, oh, am I a bad person for not having immediately thought about how the queer eye, like the Fab Five, symbolize something to like the queer community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like am I bad for not having immediately crossed my mind?
I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think as with anything, like you are allowed to fic anything you want as long as you're not telling the people you're ficking that you're doing it. And like something being meaningful or holding a lot of weight in the queer community doesn't mean that they're not up for grabs as like public entities, in my opinion. But that does carry weight with it that will end up informing how people respond to the thing. So like I can't divorce my feelings on the individual, Fab Five guys or the tone of the show or how important it is to me or how much I love Jonathan Van Ness from any interpretation of them in fanfic that I find not super kind. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to carry that with me when I walk in the door. And that's a risk you take with fanfiction, is that you are asking people to bring their baggage with them. I mean, it happens with fiction too. Like if you walk into any magician's fic, you're asking somebody to bring all the baggage from season 4 and 5 with them. And, and that's going to be different than for somebody who hasn't seen the show. Like we've seen with you, like it's not the same. Like you approach the story differently based on what you're carrying with you when you walk in the door. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it certainly informs the interpretation of it.
I don't know. Something to talk to my therapist about.
Oh, James.
James, you know how I do a podcast? Well, Erin was mean and she called me. Totally make you a bad guy somehow.
I owe you like money for all of the time you spent in therapy talking about how mean I am.
No, not true. Not true.
You're like kind of true.
No. Nothing but lovely things. But yeah, that's interesting to think about. Yeah, because I just think it feels like a shitty thing to say, but to me, when I'm reading fan fiction, I try not to think about all of the like other stuff. Like I just want to read, because again, to me, it was a very much an escape. Like I need to not be me for a moment, and I guess I just haven't ever fully come out of that. So I don't stop and think about like, oh, how does this like, what does this mean in regards to like the queer community or to this or that. It's like similar. So I'm doing summer camp currently, and it's virtual, thank God. But I'm a big player in it, that I control the Zoom breakout rooms, and every camper goes into one of 10 breakout rooms, and we have like 80 campers. So I very quickly have to sort them into their groups very quickly. And for the first like week or two, I was like, everyone just jokingly called me the sorting hat, and I thought it was hilarious, and I put that as my like Zoom name, and so the kids started calling me the sorting hat. But then like, and this was shortly on the heels of J.K. Rowling's transphobic tweets.
Fuck J.K. Rowling, just saying that out loud. Continue.
Yes, true, exactly. But again, that's something that I had not considered, and then someone like mentioned it, and then we had to be like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happened, and so we had to like do away with it. So we did, and we no longer use it, which is good. But it's a thing of like, it doesn't immediately come to me, and I'm like, why?
I don't think that's a shitty thing though. I think that's just a real experience of media consumption, right? Like that is a valid way to experience media, because I think that's probably how most people experienced media pre-social media and internet.
A good point.
Yeah, like we exist in this constant feedback loop of, something comes out and there's immediately like 7 think pieces on why it's problematic, right? And all of those critiques could be valid, but it's also equally valid for somebody to for example, like we can talk about Harry Potter. Like I think you can still hold Harry Potter as important in your life and having given you something important.
Yeah.
While also recognizing that J.K. Rowling causes a great deal of harm by being a TERF and being clear, like low-key anti-Semitic and all sorts of
so many
like,
bad things. Like woof, that
like not great. And both of those things can exist simultaneously without canceling each other out, but you do just kind of, you have to reckon with what that means for your interpretation of the work. And as long as I think you're not burying your head in the sand and saying, oh, this doesn't matter at all because I said so, and you're engaging somewhat thoughtfully with it at some point in some capacity, then like you've done the thing that you need to do. Like I think where you would have gone wrong, or what sometimes happens, is that people get really offended or defensive of the thing that you are critiquing because it is part of their identity, and by critiquing or, you know, pointing out flaws in the thing, you are now somehow critiquing them, and that's not really the goal. Like the goal is to just point out that, like, hey, maybe a world in which the entire money structure of, you know, the wizarding world is run by caricatures of Jewish people is a little anti-Semitic, and we should perhaps pick at that a little bit and how that preys upon certain subconscious biases in your brain and how like that normalizes it. I'm not calling you anti-Semitic, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, hey, let's be critical of this media that we're consuming. So I don't think it's all that was a very long-winded way of saying I don't think it's shitty to engage differently with media than other people. And it also like is fair to just want entertainment out of something. Like I don't think that's a bad thing, because there are some things out there that like I still like will watch Harry Potter movies because they're entertaining and not overthink it. Like that's a thing. But if somebody were to like say, hey, this thing that you're doing, you know, talking about Harry Potter or whatever is like really hurtful and here's why, I would also have that conversation.
Yeah.
Does that even make any sense? Or am I just rambling endlessly?
No. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that was a very good conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I think you're a good person, Alon.
I try, you know, and I think that's half the battle.
That is truly all you can ask of anybody, right? Like, is to give it an honest try. Yep.
So I guess we've come to that point, Aaron. I am bound by the by the rules of our podcast to ask you for your rating on Queer Eye John Locke edition.
This is not an orphan account, is it?
No, it is not.
It is not.
No.
I will give it a 1.
Okay, that's fair.
And because I don't think it's a kindness to rate anything a 0. I think that's actually just being mean. Because I also choose to believe that I don't know this author's intent, but as for everything that I see from this author, this was a sincere thing. Like, it's not them writing something with an intent to be, you know, mean or whatever.
Right.
So I think it fell short. I did not particularly care for it. I really did not like that one joke. But it is not a malicious fan fiction. Right. Therefore, I will give it a 1.
Nice.
Yep.
You're a pro at just like at the diplomatic rating.
Yeah, I did work in HR.
It's true. It's true.
I've learned how to obfuscate. I'm like, I'm sorry, are you asking me a direct question? I'm going to swerve. Yeah.
That being said, I know this is going to strike fear in your heart, but I am really interested in revisiting crossovers at some point in our future, which I know we will have to.
We should. I mean, the reality is we should. By the volume of crossover fic that exists on this planet, we should come back.
Yeah. And I'll be very interested to see what other kind of approaches people have to it.
I am also interested to see, as we move through future tags and I use, there are more that I really dislike. Like, there are other tropes and other tags that I'm just, like, not about. And we haven't really touched on any of them yet because we decide what tags we want to do. And I'm always like, we're going to do this one. And you're like, okay.
It's true.
So we haven't done the ones that I don't like yet. So I will be very interested to see if I continue to, like, experience disliking a tag and then disliking a fic in general, or if there are fics where I'm like, I really dislike this trope in general, but this fic is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm really interested to see how that goes.
That's a good point.
I will not tell you what the tags are that I really dislike until we do them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna ask, but I don't think we should. I think it's more fun when we get there and Aaron just says, "I hated this."
Yeah, I'm like, "Hi, this is the worst." As a genre. Okay. I think that's everything, right? It's still so weird to me to only do one tag per episode, but
I agree, but I feel like that was a good discussion. We came, we saw, we read, we conquered. Aaron, if people want to interact with us, where can they find us?
The internet.
Yep. Yeah, just go onto ye old Google and type in Ficklist. And we'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. No. Which should actually be useful. So, predominantly Twitter. Let's be real. I mostly am on Twitter. At Ficklist, because someone else had the Ficklist. And I was like, I hate you so much. And also Tumblr at theficklistpodcast.tumblr.com. And also Instagram at theficklist. And also Facebook at the Ficklist. And we are also on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on Google. We're on Podchaser, which is a new thing. I don't know what Podchaser is, but we're on it. And yep, yeah, SoundCloud. That's the other one. I was like, I know I'm missing something. I'm sure we're on other sites, and I just don't know about it yet. I'm sure that's a thing.
Right.
And yeah, we have a master rec list that we update with every episode with the fix, so you can read along with us. We always accept recommendations for fix or tags because, as you can tell, we don't do well left on our own for too long. So please send us things. Please. It'll be great. Did I forget anything? I don't think. Oh, rate and review us on your podcast hosting site of choice.
Yes, please.
And have a popsicle, friends, because it's hot out there.
Maybe not anymore, depending on when this one comes out, but it's hot currently.
Yeah, we post this in October, and it's like, have a popsicle. It's like, oh, it's July. That's why I just said that. But like, popsicles are just tasty. Just have one.
I'm not a huge fan, actually.
Ugh,
I have sensitive teeth.
Sensitive teethies and sensitive peepers? Oh my god.
I'm a sensitive boy.
You are a soft boy. You would not do well in rugged terrain.
No. I'm strictly an indoor boy.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, you're like the indoor song from SpongeBob.
Yup.
Take it away, Penny. If that ain't a mood for quarantine, y'all.
True. All right. Well, on that note, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
See ya later.
Bye.
Bye.